Nikki Lowe, and welcome to the Wisdom for Working Mums podcast show, where I share insights and interviews that support women to combine their family, work and life in a more successful and sustainable way. Welcome to this episode of Wisdom for Working Mums. Most of us women know that to thrive in our busy lives, we need to focus on our health and well-being. But actually trying to live a healthy life can leave us feeling stressed. We're already struggling for time and energy. So how can we integrate healthy eating, exercise, self-care into our already hectic lives? If you feel like this, then today's guest has the answers for us. In this episode, I'm joined by Laura Butler, who's a health coach and lifestyle intervention consultant. She helps ambitious, busy women like us to overcome overwhelm, burnout and crisis. She helps them to restore balance and confidence in their bodies, health and general lives. Laura is a busy working mum too, so is in the trenches with us, juggling a successful and demanding career with motherhood. In this episode, not only does Laura share her wisdom on what it takes to feel healthy, vibrant and energetic, but she also shares the health habits that are easy, fun and sustainable. And during this interview, Laura talks not only about food and how that nutrition can support us, but she talks about it's not just what we eat, it's how we eat that can really make a difference to our health and well-being. And she starts to share these 7 secrets of how to eat for weight loss and energy. And she's kindly offered this as a download to go with this episode. So if you'd like to access that download, go to wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk/27, the number 2 and the number 7, and that's wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk/27. And I hope you enjoy this interview as much as I did, because Laura gives us really honest, authentic, realistic insights into what it takes to focus on our health and well-being as busy working mums. So dive in and enjoy. So Laura, welcome to the podcast show. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for asking me to be here.
So for those of you that are listening that don't know about you and your work, could you give us an insight into who you are and what you do, please?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a lifestyle intervention consultant. I'm a health and habit change coach to ambitious women, mums usually, and I also do health coaching for businesses and organisations for their staff. Mm-hmm.
So that sounds amazing. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about lifestyle intervention, what kind of things does that cover?
Okay, so a lot of people come to me for help around weight loss. You know, that's a big topic, of course, for a lot of women. But actually, when you dig a bit deeper, a lot of these lifestyle behaviours are all interlinked and they all impact each other. So I often sit down with my women and find out what their goals are. And it could be weight loss. It could be they want better energy. It could be that they want to be exercising more, fitter, stronger, healthier. It could be that they're on the verge of just overwhelm. They don't know how to get that old, you know, their old selves, the feeling of that back. You know, they may be mums, they may have had children, and they've ended up being at the bottom of the pile, basically. So there's many reasons that people come to me, and we look at where they are and what they want to try and achieve, and we cover all the different lifestyle areas, and that can be food and what to eat, and it can be exercise, it can be self-care, it's looking at things like stress and solutions to that, and where they are in their lives with those things, and put different things in place to help them accomplish their goals.
And I'm imagining quite a few people listening to this and nodding along going, oh, yeah. Those are the kind of things that I would like to work on in my life. So how did you come to do this work? Because I think your story is quite interesting behind this as well.
Okay, so I think, if you want the full story, my family has always been into health and well-being. My granny is a Swami, so she was the head of the British Yoga for a long time, and she's taught out in ashrams in India, and she is an amazing role model for health and well-being. My dad's been in the sports industry for a long time, and my mum has always cooked really amazing, healthy, homemade meals. And so as a family, we've always been quite healthy. But I guess really I went down the route of actually business coaching and marketing and that kind of thing for a while. I fell into that. But when I had my daughter and my son, I started to look at my own health again, because obviously that time in your life things are just crazy busy, and it is very difficult to juggle all of these things, and you can find yourself in the situation where you're being dragged out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, you've had hardly any sleep at night, and you're very tired, and you're reaching for caffeine to get you going, usually sugary snacks throughout the day, again just to boost your energy levels, and comfort eating as well, I have to say, and you're just eating on the go, and you are, like I said, the bottom of the pile, and you're not the priority, so you're not building in time for self-care and things like that. And by the time the evening comes, you're sitting down, you're thinking what's happened, and maybe reaching for a glass of wine or something to relax. And that was basically my cycle. I was doing that daily, as well as running my own business and having a very full-on busy life, and just not coping really that well. Even though I thought I was quite healthy, I actually had no idea until I decided that I wanted to add to my coaching qualifications and go back to kind of my health roots and retrain as a health coach. And with that, it wasn't just health coach training, it's habit change as well, which is really key to this, because how many of us know what to eat or what to do or what exercise we need to be doing, but actually we don't do it. The knowledge is one thing, but it's the habit change that's the next step that will really get us on the right path. So it was then the retraining of that that got me into this, and I managed to change my whole life around, really, from going for the being dragged out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning to actually jumping out of bed at that time, having the energy, knowing what to eat to fuel my own body and what my body needs for that day, and realising that actually it's a priority to schedule in self-care and all these other factors, basically. So and then I just thought, well, I know all of this, I have to share it.
Brilliant. And I think that will be really reassuring for people to hear, because as you say, often people know what we need to do, but doing it is a different thing. And I think as mums, we tend to be quite tough on ourselves anyway, and to know that you've been there, you've been through the struggle. It's not that you're this kind of amazing human being that just has these superhuman powers to look after yourself. You've learned the hard way, and I think that's really reassuring for anybody listening to hear. So today we're going to be talking about health habits for kind of busy working mums, which sounds amazing, but actually, how do you define health and well-being for your clients? What does it mean for you? Well, that's a really interesting question, because actually there's no real end destination. So my community online is actually called the Lifestyle Medicine Journey, and that's for a reason. It is a journey. It doesn't matter, I've still got a lot to learn about myself and about my own health and well-being. And really, when I work with people, it's about changing the baseline of where they are. So someone who has maybe never even considered, that food could be, nourishing and fueling to their body, and the impact that different kinds of foods can have on your body.
as they start to change their baseline, perhaps, porridge for breakfast is the healthiest thing that they're having, okay? And that's their baseline. But then I have other clients who the first thing that they have in the morning might be a shot of kefir, and then they have, eggs and avocado and salmon for breakfast, and then they go. So it's hard to sort of say, define that, as it were, because there is no end destination. It's about changing those baselines.
And I imagine it's such a personal thing how people define it for themselves as well.
Absolutely. For me personally, I think it comes back to stress, actually, and the level of stress that a person is going through. And I don't just mean mental stress, it's environmental, it's digestive stress, it's psychological. There are all these different stresses we have in the modern world, and it can be said now that 80% of what a doctor sees on a daily basis can be attributed back to stress.
Wow.
From one way or another.
Yeah.
And I think if you can balance that, then that's one of the best things that you can do for your whole body, for your life. Yeah.
So what do you see as the common challenges when you're working with your clients? What do people kind of come to you and want help with?
So usually the first thing that everybody says is, tell me what to eat. I don't care about the rest. Just tell me what I'm meant to eat. And actually, while yes, I have a framework of roughly, what we should be eating, what I do with my clients is not just give them a diet plan and say, right, go away and follow that.
Yeah.
Teach them the tools to decipher the best diet for their unique body. Mm-hmm. And that is absolutely key, because what's right for me won't be right for you necessarily. And when you understand your body and when you get in tune with it and you start listening to it and seeing how it responds to different foods and how some foods give you energy and some take them away, then you can start creating your meals based around that.
Right, okay.
And then you're much more equipped to be making those choices on a daily basis. There is no point in me just giving a one-size-fits-all plan, because it just won't serve everyone. And it means when you've learned how to understand your body and what your body needs, then it doesn't matter. It can be any stage of your life, and you've still got those tools.
Right, okay.
So what we need now will be very different to what we need in 10 years' time. Mm-hmm. So, but you don't want me still with you necessarily in 10 years' time. You'll have tools to work that out for yourself. There's a chap actually, Dale Pinnock, the medicinal chef. If you've not heard of him, he's excellent. And he was vegan in his 20s and 30s, and he absolutely thrived being vegan at that time. But then he got to his 40s and actually he was missing some things, and actually realised that being vegan didn't serve him at that time, so he changed his diet accordingly. So one of the biggest things that people come to me with is, what do I eat? Just tell me what to eat. And yes, we do work that out for you. And like I said, I do have a magic plate framework that we work to, but it is all about you as a unique person. And then I think with busy working mums, it's all about time. This is all great, Laura, but how do I do it? Where do I find the time? Yeah. And so that is a lot of what we work on. It's looking at your situation, again, your unique situation and life and lifestyle, and how we can make space and time, and prioritising what are the most important lifestyle behaviours to focus on, how we can make things become a habit, because willpower will only get you so far. We've only got a finite amount of willpower. And what we actually want is, for example, say if it's cravings, for example, for so long somebody might say, nope, I'm going to be really strong and stubborn. Nope, I'm not having that. I'm like, I want it, but I'm not having it because I'm on this diet or whatever. But actually what we want is to just take that away, and for it not even to be an issue if it's put in front of you. So, well, that's there, but I don't want it. And so we look at the habits, and we dig deep into those areas so that they're not even an issue anymore.
And I know from speaking to you previously, one of the big things that contributes to that is for people to know their why their health and well-being is so important, so that it's easier for it to become a priority.
Absolutely. So my first session is around goal setting with my clients, and so it's really important to have a goal that is achievable and really kind of tangible. You can actually really work towards that and achieve that. But at the same time, we set not only the goal, we set what I call the big mofer, which is your big motivating factor, and that's the emotive part. What is the why? Why are you doing this? Yeah, okay, it's great if you want to get into this size dress, or you want to start running 3 times a week, or you want to be less stressed, or whatever it is, but why? And we dig really deep into those areas and find out why, and that's the emotive part, because often it's for their families. For me, it was to be a role model to my daughter, who's only 5. I wanted to be strong and healthy and not to have any issues around food and my own body, and be able to teach her the same. And so that's really a strong motivating factor. So yes, finding out your why to keep you motivated.
And it's interesting, I lost my mum when I was in my late 20s, and she was only in her 50s, so very suddenly, very unexpectedly, and that was a huge motivating factor for me in terms of why well-being and health is so important, because it was kind of, I suppose, whys can be either pain or pleasure, can't they, actually? And psychologically, pain is often a stronger motivator, and that's been a huge driving force for me in terms of my own well-being, and knowing that I want to be around for as long as possible for my children. And I had children relatively late on, so it's even more important in that sense. And so for anybody listening, I suppose it's about tapping into kind of those, and often it's something that's bigger than yourself can be the biggest motivator, isn't it? It's actually, say we put ourselves to the bottom of the pile, but if it's for our children or for others, that can be a huge motivator.
Yes, 100%. You're right. As mums, our children are one of the biggest motivators for sure.
And it's lovely to hear you talk about actually that body positivity, about actually having a good relationship with your body and passing that on to your daughter. And my firstborn was a son, and I've got a 1-year-old daughter, and I'm really aware of it now, actually, having had a daughter. It's important for boys as well, but I think culturally for girls it's even a bigger issue around actually how to, not kind of standing in front of the mirror and criticising my body at all around her, and knowing that that's just not something that I want her to do, so I shouldn't be doing it. Absolutely.
And it's funny, actually, we quite often will kind of have these daily gratitude situations with the children. I like to sit down and say, what are you grateful for, what are you thankful for, and what do you love about your life? And my son, who's only 2, he'll get in the mirror and he'll say, in his way, I love this and I love that. and body image is part of that as well, and kind of thanking your body for your legs for keeping you strong, and being able to run and play, and it's really important. And starting at this age, it's going to send them on the right path.
And I think, if I reflect on myself, and I imagine people listening as well, going, how often do we stand in front of the mirror and say positive and grateful things to our body? Because society doesn't necessarily teach us to do that. We tend to look for what's wrong or what we want to change about it. So,
it does. And one technique actually that I use with my clients is to start talking to your body as a she rather than it. And that's really powerful, because when you start giving your body this kind of personality, and it becomes a she, it it's kind of like a friend then. And you wouldn't say half the things that you say to your own body that you would to a friend. Oh, she's got fat thighs, or she's whatever,
Really true, yeah.
And it's really powerful, and you get this respect for yourself. She actually carried these babies, and she has done this, and it's a really emotional thing for my clients usually when they go through this activity. But that's one top tip as well.
That's lovely to hear. So I imagine people are listening to this going, this all sounds great, there are things that I want to do to improve my health and well-being. I'm a busy working mum, and as we've already talked about, time can be an issue, and prioritising ourselves can be an issue. So what tools, techniques, strategies or key pieces of advice could you offer to somebody listening that wants to prioritise their health and well-being more?
Okay, so there are so many different ways we can do this. The first thing I would say is, if you haven't got a diary or a planner, that's going to be a really good starting place, because planning everything in, you're allocating that time, you're keeping protected time for certain activities, and that's one of the first places to start. So using your planner effectively and sticking to it. But also what I do, especially around food, because a lot of people come to me and they say, I just don't have the time to cook meals from scratch. And we know that that's really important, because you're using, ingredients that you know where they've come from, and usually better quality ingredients. So cooking home cooked meals is a fantastic place to start for health, but it can be hard if you're not in a routine with it and you're not organised. So I would say a meal planner, so literally sitting down, writing out for the whole week what you're eating, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then making sure that you go shopping for those items so that they are all already there in the fridge, and you don't even have to think about it. So thinking time is one of the worst, you know when it's like you've had a long day at work or with the kids, and you open the fridge and it could be full of ingredients, but you're kind of thinking,
I think we've all had that experience.
What am I going to make? And you're normally harassed and rushed. So having a meal planner. So what I do personally, I do my meal planning on a Thursday night. I write it all out, and then on a Friday, because I then brave the shops with the children, I sit down and order everything online from Tesco, and then on a Saturday morning it gets delivered, or I go and pick it up, and then Sunday I will do some batch cooking for the week. So that means that I've got a few meals already there, cooked and ready, and I can just pull them out of the fridge when I need them. And any leftovers I put in the freezer, because you'll always be caught out at times. Knowing that you've got healthy meals in the freezer ready to go is fantastic as a backup. So I do that on a Sunday. And
how long would you spend on a Sunday?
About an hour.
Okay, so it's manageable.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? It's really nice to get the kids involved as well. So my son has the bluntest knife in the world, kids' plastic knife, and I give him mushrooms and things just to hack away at. They don't always go into the food, but they feel part of it. And my daughter's at the age where she can get involved, and she loves it, and they'll be eating carrots as they go, and this, that and the other. And it's a nice family activity. It's teaching them about cooking as well, which we want to be doing, and they get to graze on healthy stuff as they go, and we can all be doing it together. Brilliant. So it's about an hour, and then you've got things ready then for the week. But also, I have to say, I did a social media post about this because I thought it was hilarious the other week. On a Monday, what I do is I do my lunches usually, and I will do up usually some sort of a grain mix, whether it be quinoa or buckwheat, spelt, whatever, lentils. Mix it, just get it cooking. But in one episode of Thomas the Tank Engine, I managed to cook 5 different dishes. basically all in one go. And that was literally just, they were so quick and easy. I threw some chickpeas in the oven with some Cajun spice and some tomatoes and peppers, for example. And I had the quinoa bubbling away. And, what else did I do? I did like some mixed beans from a tin, rinse those off, put them in some dressing. Then I did some broccoli and pesto and almonds. They were going at the same time. There was a couple of other things, and they all took this half-hour one episode of Thomas the Tank Engine. And so I didn't feel bad that,
Yeah.
And then after it, I had basically a fridge full of things that I could run to for lunch and just throw together and eat,
Brilliant.
Just making it easy.
And I think that kind of is one of those kind of healthy habits, isn't it, around, as you said, prioritising it, making the time in your planner for it, and then batching it, because to do that all at once was far less time than having to make the individual kind of meals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, it would have been really easy for me to say, I could just spend this time now. I'll sit down with a cup of tea and read this magazine. And while time out is also really important, don't get me wrong, self-care, where you're getting a really good quality self-care and relaxation is important. Actually, I made the decision that in that time, I know that I work much better when I've got good food available to me. Otherwise, I know what the fallout will be if I don't have that food. So for me, it's a non-negotiable to have good food in the house and readily available. That's just one of my baselines now, one of my priorities. So I make time for it. Sitting down with a cup of tea is lovely, but actually I know that I'm not at my best if I don't have that good food ready.
And I think that's a really important message for us women that want to achieve in the world and are quite ambitious and want to kind of do great things and be great mothers. And the underlying kind of currency for that is our energy, isn't it? And I know that you run a very busy business, that you're juggling a lot at the moment in your life, and you spoke earlier about actually the thing that enables you to do that is your nutrition, along with other things, but that's a key factor. Absolutely.
And when you start playing around with that, you start to realise how much of a difference it makes and how much difference it can make and what you can achieve. The other piece of advice I would say in terms of creating new healthy habits is habit stacking. So for me, I know that if I start the day with hot water and lemon, which is fantastic, by the way, for your metabolism and cleaning out and all of that, then it's going to be a healthy day. That's just, I've started the day that way. It's not going to go any other way. But if you're wanting to introduce a new habit, we do something called habit stacking. So if you've already got a habit in place, for example, your whether it be a cup of tea or whether it be hot water and lemon in the morning, and you're trying to introduce a new one, stack it onto an already existing habit, and you'll get that association with the next thing. It almost becomes
sticky. The next habit sticks to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, because there's that book written about if you make your bed in the morning, it's kind of like it's going to be a good day. It's that actually I'm focused and I'm going to achieve.
Absolutely, that's the whole thinking behind it. So and I would say as well, don't try and tackle every area in one go. Again, we've only got so much willpower, and you will be going off willpower to begin with until it becomes a habit. So don't think, oh my gosh, I've got to deal with, I want to eat better and I want to do more exercise and I need to build in self-care and I need to meditate and I need to do this, and actually focus on one thing. What's a priority to you right now? What will get you the best results straight away? And nail that. Yeah. Get that down.
And bang for your buck type of thing.
Absolutely. And once that's become a habit and that's your new baseline, your new non-negotiable, what can you look at then?
Yeah.
So don't get overwhelmed with it all.
And I know that you also help people around, it's not just what you eat, but it's how you eat that can make a difference. Could you share a little bit of your thinking around that?
Absolutely. And this is really interesting. And I feel like I've got, the world's greatest secrets around this, because everyone's always talking about what you should be eating. Every diet book out there is telling you one way of, what you should be eating, and you should eat this, you should eat that. And that's only half the story. How you eat makes such a difference to your own health. And I'm talking about things like chewing, for example, mindful eating when you are stressed, things like this that people really don't understand at the moment, how these things can impact how your body stores food as fat and things like that. So, for example, chewing, as humans, we only really chew 3 times and then swallow. It's not enough for your digestive enzymes to be breaking that food down in your mouth. That's where your digestion starts. There's something called the CPDR, the cephalic phase digestive response. That needs to kick in. When you get it's the visual, the aroma, the everything about your meal. You see it coming, you're anticipating it, you start salivating, you're ready for the meal. And your body needs to accurately assess the meal and get excited about it to register it. If you eat it really quickly without even looking at your food, it's kind of like it never happened. So your brain will still be searching for that meal. So you'll find yourself snacking or continuing to eat. So that's one thing. Also, the chewing, if you can chew more like 20 times, you're going to make digestion a lot easier. Less will be stored as fat. Digestion robs your brain of energy. So if your body's digesting, you're going to be less focused, be less productive. It's that Sunday lunch, feeling where you've had a really big meal and your dad's asleep on the sofa because he's digesting,
Yeah, absolutely. Like after Christmas dinner, everybody falls asleep.
Exactly. So eating mindfully, chewing, breathing actually fuels the metabolism. It's like a furnace. If you breathe more, you burn more. So putting your fork down between bites, breathing in to fuel your metabolism, all of these things really impact our health. So yes, I have a 7 secrets of how to eat that I work through with my clients as well.
And Laura, thank you. You've kindly agreed to share it with the audience. So yes. If people are interested in learning more about that, because it sounds like there's a huge amount of power and science that sits behind it, people can find that at wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk/2727. So that's wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk/27, and they can kind of find these secrets out, which will be fantastic. So what other things can a busy working mum who's listening to this do that would be, as you say, a small habit that could become a ritual that might make a positive impact to their well-being?
So, so there are so many different things, and it really depends on what their goals are. We've said already that mums, they are always at the bottom of the pile. And I have to say, for me, the food element is massive, of course, and we've just talked about that. But next to that is the self-care. Mm-hmm. And we need to be looking after ourselves more, because if we don't look after ourselves, no one else is going to get the best version of us. You want to be more present with the children, you want to have energy, you want to feel that you can spend this time with them. I've had clients who come to me who they feel guilty going to a yoga class because the children are crying and they need them, and they think they should be making dinner for their husband or whatever. But actually that 1 hour a week or a couple of times a week means that they come back, they're refreshed, renewed, re-energized, and they've got more to give for everyone else. It's the putting your own mask on first before helping others. You know, when you go on holiday, and they always say on the aeroplane, you know, put yours on first before you help others. And you can't help anyone else when you are at the bottom of the pile all the time and feeling depleted and overwhelmed and just burned out. So it really took a lot of effort and reflection for me to actually schedule in this self-care regularly and realise that it's not me being selfish and not to feel guilty about it. You know, we carry so much as mums for the whole family, and we do that selflessly. You know, working mums are the modern age superwoman, I'm telling you, you know, and we're raising the next generation and actually building businesses, or, you know, going out to work as well. And I think we've got so much on our plates that we have to have this, we have to force this time in.
And I think I look at it as the difference between what do we need and what do we want.
Yes.
And actually sometimes we're overriding our base needs that allow us to function, and recognising those needs and going, actually this is just part of how I operate at my best. As you were talking, I was just thinking about, we went on holiday during the 6 weeks holiday, and every morning me and my husband had said, actually, we'd like to go for a run. So one of us will go and then the other one will go. And I've not run for 2 years. It's something that since being pregnant with my daughter, then having my daughter, I haven't done. But when I'm on holiday, I tend to have the kind of the headspace, the time to do it. So we'd agreed this, and it was really interesting watching my son's reaction, because every time I went to go out the door to have a run in, it was only 20 minutes. I can't run very far, but it was like 20 minutes of me time, and I'd contracted with him around, actually, if you can let mummy have this time, you've got the whole day, we'll do whatever you want. He would be clinging onto my leg crying, asking me, why can't I come? Why are you going without me? But he didn't do it for my husband. And it was really interesting. Had I not done the work on myself around kind of mother's guilt and kind of my need for self-care, that would have meant I wouldn't have done it. And actually just having those 20 minutes set me up for the day of kind of doing lots of child activities around the swimming pool, and where actually what I wanted to be doing was sitting reading a book and having some kind of relaxed time. And obviously my children are not at an age where I can really do that, but just having that 20 minutes was really important to set me up for the day. And how difficult that was, because my son was, you know, not intentionally, but really pulling on my kind of heartstrings and triggering all my guilt. And I thought, isn't it interesting? He didn't do it for his dad, but he did it for me.
Absolutely. And kind of going on from that, if we start it early enough and it becomes a habit, what we're teaching our children is that we're important too, and we want them to do the same for themselves. We want them, when they're older, to know that they deserve that time for themselves and they're important and they're worthy. So I totally get that. You know, my daughter does the same sometimes, but actually she's getting a lot better now, and I'll say, I'm just going out for a swim. Oh, okay, mummy, we'll go another time together. And she knows that we will, and that's fine, and she's getting used to that. But I have to force it, because I want her to know when she's older, this is a non-negotiable for her as well. So it's being that role model, but also in terms of the self-care activities, you know, it doesn't have to be something huge like a spa day every week, you know. While they're great and planning those in is fantastic, just really little things. And it's about reconnecting with yourself and saying, what's important to me? What do I find re-energizing, relaxing, comforting? So it could be a nice luxurious bubble bath, it could be reading a book. For me, it's in the evening, you know, I go downstairs, I have one room that is completely tidy, dim the lights, and there's just some beautiful smelling candles everywhere. You know, I find that really relaxing, and I just love that. I find that really luxurious. I do meditation as well, you know, but sometimes it can only just be 10 minutes because that's all I've got, but I know that I've done it and it makes a huge difference. No, I love that. So there's lots of
kind of little things that you've shared there that actually they might be micro, like habits or rituals, but I think they could have a macro impact in terms of actually they could really, really help. But if there was just one thing that you hope a mum listening to this takes away from this conversation, what would that be?
That she deserves to live her best life. That she deserves to live her best life, and that, you know, there are little things that there's always hope. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's no there are always little things you can do. You may have such a busy life, and you may, even with all the, you know, tips and ideas that I've shared today, you may still be thinking, but I really don't know how. There is always a way. There's always some little tweaks you can make that, as you say, will make a big difference. Small hinges swing big doors, you know. Don't worry about trying to change everything. What can you change? What's the one small thing that you can change this week that you will find pleasurable? You know, it needs to be pleasurable, otherwise you won't stick to it. So find one small thing and grow from there.
I love that. Thank you. So where can people find out more about you and kind of what you do?
Okay, so I'm in several places. So my website is laurabutlercoaching.co.uk, and I also have a website for businesses and organisations if they want me to go in and do talks and seminars with their staff. It's wellbeingcoaching.co.uk, and I'm also on Facebook, so you can find me there. I've got a community called the Lifestyle Medicine Journey, and I literally just post in what I've been, you know, doing that day, whether it be you know, recipes and food, or, you know, ideas for self-care, so and things like that. People looking for
inspiration, that's a great place to head, and I'll put all these links into the show notes. Okay. And I know you're also on Instagram as well, aren't you?
Yes, I am, Laura Butler Coaching.
So I'll put that on there. Thank you, Laura. You've shared some really useful insights there, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share that with us.
Oh, you're so welcome. I hope you found it useful.
Those insights that Laura shared were great, weren't they? Around healthy habits for us busy working mums. If you'd like to access her 7 secrets of how to eat for weight loss and energy, head over to wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk/27. That's wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk/27. You can find all the information relating to this podcast and also get access to that great download. If you've enjoyed this episode of Wisdom for Working Mums, please share it on social media and with your friends and family. I'd love to connect with you too. So if you head over to wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk, you'll find a link on how to do this. And if you love the show and really want to support it, please go to iTunes, write a review and subscribe. You'll be helping another working mum find this resource too.